Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So this week I'm going to do kind of a reaction video. If you've seen any of these on YouTube, basically you watch another video and film a reaction to it. So this past week, I think, Netflix announced that they are making a movie version of the Jane Austen book, Persuasion. I just finished Persuasion. I got this copy for my birthday. This was my second read through, so I had read it a couple years ago. Really liked it. Basically, the storyline is these two people fall in love, and then someone tells them that they're not going to work out together, and so he leaves, and she's left trying to kind of find love somewhere else. It's years later, and her sisters are getting married, and she's still single. Then a couple years later, she's kind of in these circles, and the guy that she fell in love with back then is back, and there's kind of that awkward, like, are we even still friends? Do we still like each other? Beautiful resolution at the end, really well written. I love the way that Austen writes in a way that you realize that people back then in the 18th century actually felt and thought the same way that we do today. Like, human nature is still the same. So I thought that was really cool. But this is one of my favorite Austen books. I really enjoyed it the second way through. And I have never seen any of the movie adaptations. I think there's at least one other movie that was made from it. So Netflix is making a movie, and it has been very controversial over on Bookstagram. I've seen a couple people actually say that they're looking forward to it, but most people have been very angry at it and all the different things that Netflix is doing to it that are very not true to the book. So I'm going to go through and watch the trailer and kind of point out to you some of the things that I'm definitely mad at and that make me think that they're obviously going to ruin it. Like, I think Netflix ruins most things. So without further ado, let's hop into the trailer.
I almost got married once. There were no two souls more in rhythm than Wentworth and I.
So first of all, 8 seconds in, the main character, Anne, I believe is her name, right? I'm terrible at remembering character names from books. Yes, Anne Elliot. Okay, but 8 seconds in, Anne has her hair fully down, and all definitely styled down, which for this time period would definitely not have been accurate or appropriate at all. So already red flag.
And I was persuaded by my family to give him up. My father.
Exquisite joy.
Okay, so it looks really comical. She's talking to the camera, breaking the third wall, which I think can be done really well and can be really funny. Like, the series of unfortunate events is kind of like that. Obviously, The Office is a big example of that. I've never actually seen it. So I think it could be really comical and really funny. The problem is that Persuasion is not really a comical book. Obviously, Jane Austen wrote most of her things to be satirical, but I didn't find it very funny. It was more of an emotional story. So I think that's really interesting that they're taking the comedy route. Like, Emma is more of a comical book. And so those movies did a better job of just embracing that and making you laugh. I don't really see how that's going to work with Persuasion. And it looks like it would be a good comedy movie, except for the fact that it's supposed to be based on a book, so that kind of ruins it.
He's never met a reflective surface he didn't like. And my sisters.
I'm just too kind, Anne, that's my problem. I give all of my attention to others and then I suffer for it.
Where are your children?
How should I know?
I would have been a father.
Okay, I definitely think that her sister, the one, I can't remember her names, but the one who has the children and she always thinks that she's sick and suffering, I think they did cast her really well, and that looks like a good part that they're putting in there. I don't know how I feel about Anne, because I definitely feel like she would have been less judgmental towards her sister. Like, obviously she knows that her sister's being ridiculous and selfish, but I don't think she would have been outwardly judgmental of that, especially in that time period. A lot of these things in this trailer are modern interpretations of this book, whereas it was written in a setting that they should stick with.
Happier woman in keeping him than I have been in giving him up.
It's been 7 years.
Hey.
Darling, at some point, you have to move on.
And in the book, she's definitely not still crying about him 7 years later. She thinks about him, even, especially when he comes back, but she's not laying in her bed crying. And her friend, let me see what her name is, Lady Russell. Her friend Lady Russell was, I guess, part of the reason why their relationship ended in the first place. And so I can definitely see her saying like, oh, you need to get over him, but I don't think they didn't even have a conversation like that in the book. So it's really odd to me that she's still crying over him 7 years later. Not accurate to the book.
There'll be special guest tonight.
Gallant Captain Wentworth. Is it true he's devastatingly handsome?
Look at me, I'm Captain Wentworth and I am handsome.
Captain, meet Anne.
Actually, we've met.
Okay, so we've seen quite a few colored characters in here, which obviously I don't have a problem with different skin tones being in movies. They're all people and it doesn't matter. But you need to be historically accurate to the time period that it was written in. And at that time, any people of color would not have been in the rich society, even though England, I think, freed slaves around this time, a little bit before this, but they definitely would not have been in that general society and not have been the rich people at the time, and that is just historical fact. So the fact that they're trying to add that in and make it kind of an obvious thing, they're trying to play to a certain audience, and it's not historically sticking to the facts. But a lot of this thing, it's like, it could be a good movie and it could be really funny and really interesting, but if they're gonna call it based off of a novel, then they should stick to that novel and the story and the setting and everything and try to be as accurate as possible. That's what really bothers me about it.
Long ago, not before I was handsome.
Your face has matured. Your hair remains intact.
Your hair is also suitably appropriate.
You still have jam on your face.
Yeah, they would not have talked to each other like that in the book. Like, there's little conversations that they have, but definitely not like that.
Now we're worse than exes. We're friends.
Yeah, that would be modern dialogue. Like, who wrote this script? Someone who hadn't read the book.
Frederick! Perfect.
Pardon me. I think I'm in your way.
Perhaps you can correct that.
Can I help you with something?
Okay. This guy is her cousin, I believe, Mr. Elliot. And whenever they run into each other in the book, first of all, they don't talk to each other at all. They kind of see each other across the room, I believe, and she doesn't know who he is. And there's definitely like this interest of, obviously, this guy she sees, he's a single guy who looks rich. She would have been interested in him probably, but there's no like automatic attraction in the book. And they completely add that right here in this scene. Like there's something between them and there's a rivalry between Wentworth and Mr. Elliot. And there's definitely not in the book.
Considering what I'd like help with, probably not. Do I sense a romance brewing?
He must be after something.
Why are you so suspicious?
No, there's no romance between Mr. Elliot and Anne at all.
I am willing to work for my titles.
Imagine my luck. A flirt and a hard worker.
Oh, don't forget rich.
How is it that life without warning become flooded with so much newness? I broke his heart. I don't want you to be angry.
What would you want me to be?
Her hair's down again.
I know how much she values your friendship.
I didn't know if I'd ever see you again, or if you knew how much.
It's all set up to make Wentworth jealous, and that just doesn't make any sense because that doesn't happen in the book at all.
I cared.
Time makes many changes.
And not yet so much changed.
Okay, that scene was actually kind of accurate to the book, and it's really sweet in the book too. So.
Don't let anyone tell you how to live. Or who to love.
It seems like a very feminist production, like she's speaking to the camera and she's kind of trying to give you a lesson in how to live your life. Don't let anyone tell you who to love. So overall, I am definitely not impressed and I'm pretty mad at the way that they've put it in the trailer. I wonder how much feedback they're getting from people who have actually read the book, because obviously there's a lot of people who are just going to go watch this because Netflix is creating it, but they're not really going to care about the actual historical book that it was based off of. So they'll get a lot of crowd from that. But for all the people who are well read and have read Jane Austen and like historically based films, I think it'll be really annoying to them. So like I said, if it wasn't based on a book, it would probably be really funny. Now, David Copperfield, the movie that they did recently on that, I thought was really well made, and even though it wasn't completely accurate to the book, I don't love Charles Dickens, and so I liked the way that they made it a little bit more lighthearted, and they brought out the true character that was in the book and just the stereotype of that character, and they really portrayed that well in a movie that made me remember the characters in the book and made them stand out more. So I did really like that adaptation of David Copperfield, but I don't see this Persuasion being the same way. I think they're really probably going to mess it up. So that's my thoughts on this new trailer from Netflix. I want to know what are y'all's thoughts on that. Leave me in the comments below. If you've actually read Persuasion, how do you feel about this new trailer? Because I have seen some people who have read it and think that the movie is going to be great. I find that hard to believe, but yeah, if you have any thoughts on that, leave it down below. And as always, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It helps me to grow my channel and be able to produce more videos. And if you would like to go follow me over on Instagram, I will leave the link below. And you can go see, there's a post that I just did the other day on who's your favorite Jane Austen hero. So if you want to go leave your thoughts there, that would be great. And I will see you next week. Goodbye.